This video is called, "Are you a master or are you a performer?" This video was brought to attention to me, and I was almost gonna give it a skip, but when I read the topic, it called to me. This is something that on the field of education I study a lot, when people's mentality shift from being either a master or a performer. So what I'm assuming that I'm going to be seeing here is like, if you are someone, are you someone that is a completionist when it comes to like getting a game? You try to like master everything on it, or are you just in it for like being part of the fun, being part of the trend? That's what I believe is the performer. So let's get this started.
What you're looking at is a video where someone is using just Tifa to beat arguably the hardest boss in Final Fantasy Rebirth, a feat I couldn't do with the full party, let alone take no damage. Oh yeah, and it's on hard mode. This person has created a hanging device in Tears of the Kingdom that will literally slap a Lionel to death. I just beat Cyberpunk for the first time ever, so naturally I'm seeing a lot of clips like this one in my feed. What 1,000 hours of Cyberpunk looks like. I sat slack-jawed as this person effortlessly danced through the sky and pulled off insane tricks and combat techniques.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
I couldn't even imagined trying.
Holy.
My playthrough looks like a chimp nibbling on a wad of Play-Doh. This was like watching Michelangelo sculpt David. And we've all seen clips like this. Someone playing a game at a level worlds beyond what you could ever imagine doing yourself. And
every time that I see a video of like someone complaining, "Oh my god, this game is very unfair," for every 100 person complaining about a game being unfair, there's a crazy uncracked speedrunner doing it effortlessly. Also, this butt cheeks, it's like staring at me.
If you're like me, typically your reaction is something like, "Cool, it's awesome that you could do this, I had no idea," and then you lock your phone and wipe. But these clips wouldn't exist if there were not people out there who do much, much, much more than just roll credits. Which makes me wonder, what possesses a person to want to go to this length in a game? To spend so many hours?
To answer your question, what possesses the person to go to this length in a game? I feel like I mentioned this story before in my life. The first time ever that I wanted to be like a speedrunner or master a game, it was my experience with Kirby Superstar. This is why I say that it's like my favorite game of all time, my number one game of all time. It's like my immediate answer is saying Kirby Superstar. When I was very young, I was infatuated with the game. I was in love with it, to the point that I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder how many times I'm able to like defeat this in so many ways without like having some device like the Game Genie or all that stuff. Because the Game Genie did enhance my desire to try games in a different way, whether it's by cheating with infinite health and all that stuff, because that's what I did with Mario All-Star. I remember the first time that I played Mario All-Stars with the Game Genie, like no kill, no mode like that, and I was like, oh, I wonder how I can like get it in most dangerous as possible and try to like, you know, I already beat the game. I already beat Mario 3, Mario 1, and Mario 2, but why would I want to keep replaying it in different ways? Because it can be fun. It can bring a new layer. Or like, let's say that I can beat the game with a specific jumping ability that is either an improvement or with on a chaotic form. I love those kind of things, honestly. Hell yeah. So you started watching Twitch back in 2012 with awesome games done quick. I love that, by the way. I really got into that as well in like a decade ago of YouTube. Holy crap. My first ever stream was a no microphone, no camera, Pokemon Yellow speedrun race. You done speedruns, Dewey? That sounds awesome. And now look where you are. I am a master baiter. What the fuck? How could you say that about me? I'm actually a master gamer. Trust me. I know how to challenge myself in games these days, even as a streamer. I love the challenge.
Relentlessly experimenting, maximizing, learning, and showing off. A reason beyond just liking the game that much, or achievement hunting, because the cop-out answer is, of course, they just like it that much. But that's too simple. I loved Rebirth, I loved Cyberpunk, I loved Tears of the Kingdom, but I didn't express that love through playing them for copious amounts of hours and multiple playthroughs, and according to this poll I made, neither did a great many of you.
This is I think this is the product of like the daily our current state of our lives right now. Like, time is so short. Sometimes we'd rather enjoy things to someone else, and that's not that bad. I'm just gonna say, it may be a hot take, but like watching a Let's Player like things for you sometimes is not a bad thing anymore. you're probably gonna immerse yourself in a different layer of it. Maybe, I don't know. That sounds like cope. Maybe it's not. And I like this comment by Raven. Sonic Adventure 2. You have to defeat it several times. You have to clear it several times over and over. Yeah, in order to complete it, and the reward can be great. But it's not necessary. You know, if you're gonna enjoy the game to the fullest, you don't necessarily need to 100% every game. And I feel like, man, even as the reward is like amazing, but sometimes I regret. What is the reward, chat, that you ever wanted to go on a game's completion that you desire, or maybe but you never got? You're like, I wish I could have experienced that because I saw everybody do it as well. And here's another question: what's a reward you wanted in a game that didn't even existed, but you still felt like maybe you would have loved doing something like that? An example is a speed run. What game have you always was curious to speed run? Because somebody said Pokemon Yellow as a speed run. So yeah, I wonder what's your take on that question? Yeah, and people that's also a very good point. This is why people create things like Nuzlocke. I can't think of anyone. Trophies are cute, but they're not the same thing. An in-game reward. At the beginning, I was like so locked in on the idea of trophies. I'm like, it sounds like a really cool concept. I totally get it. And sometimes I even said to the point, I wish Nintendo had a trophy system. But now I understand maybe the reason they don't want to put trophies to make the gamers not feel like they have like, you know, FOMO, or like they're like lacking on the game. So, you know, Nintendo is not trying to be competitive. It's more like for fun thing, while PlayStation enhances the, you know, the competitive nature in a gamer. Same with like Xbox, I think, at some point. I don't think they do. Does Xbox still do like achievements? Am I mistaken? I don't think Xbox is. Does Xbox exist at all? I think Xbox lost the war of like the gaming console. They don't exist anymore. This is why I like this topic so much. I think so much to it. I ain't got no 10 hours to run a Persona game. What the? Yeah, I know, because you work. But then as a busy adult, like some of us may not have that. It's me. I'm over here struggling to beat Xenoblade like fucking crazy. And I don't even work. I'm a streamer, I'm a VTuber, and then I do stuff in the background related to set things or things in my real life that take a lot of time. Even then, I don't have the same time that I did as a kid. And you know what? I'm willing to bet not even kids have time these days. This is why you have polls like this. This is a YouTube poll, I think. And most of the viewers on YouTube are probably like minors or kids. So I wonder how many of them voted in a poll like this that says like, hey, what do you do in a game? Do you play until the Reddit's roll, or do you play the games completely until the very end? So now I wonder, you know, do kids even have time to beat a damn game these days? Battlefield 3 is the longest game I've learned. That run is like a word. WR is 7. No, Battlefield 3 is pretty long actually. Yeah, in my brain it feels short, but back in the day, I remember beating Battlefield 3 twice, and it was pretty long actually. Advanced Warfare was like a huge pain in the ass. Yeah, no, all those games. Yeah, me and gacha games with Street Fighter 6. Yeah. Anyways, continuing.
Love for a game can be expressed in many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes a person spend hundreds, sometimes thousands of hours on something that they may not even like that much? Is there a psychological predisposition to playing a game like this? Spoilers, the answer is yes, and involves something that psychologists call goal orientation. And through a pile of psych research, some insights on how different games might affect your playstyle preference and how your parents might have affected this, hopefully this will give you some clarity on why you are the way that you are. In a nutshell, I want to help you answer if you are a master or a performer, and help you understand what that means. If you liked these videos, you're gonna like this one. And if you already think you're probably a master,
good topic, honestly,
to tinker in an effort to master a skill, you're really gonna like today's sponsor, Boot.dev.
Video sponsor
games
time
are, for many of us, a chance
I have that Kirby shirt.
Something to ourselves, an opportunity to get lost in the mechanics, express ourselves, and for many.
I like this man's taste. Final Fantasy VII figurine, but unfortunately, my dude, you're a simp. You're a simp. You're a simp. I see Chainsaw Man Makima manga, and it's probably autographed by the VA. My man's a simp. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
Many of us to conquer something that at one point felt impossible. Maybe coding is something like this for you. Maybe you've always been interested in it, but far too intimidated to actually take on that Herculean task. Boot.dev is here to tell you that you can, in fact, learn. Python, Go, JavaScript, TypeScript, these are courses you can take.
I wish I knew
Boot,
coding.
but I want you to think of them as individual journeys with bosses and obstacles.
Coding is the future.
Because that's exactly how Boot works. They want to ensure you aren't bored and that learning feels like a natural progression. Lessons are built like missions in a game. You'll earn XP, levels, achievements, and complete quests to keep your learning immersive. There are even bi-monthly boss fights where the community rallies together and gains bonus XP for each lesson completed during the event. The folks at Boot.dev believe that you can't learn to code without doing what you'll actually do on the job, which is writing a lot of code and building real projects. Because this isn't just about learning. They want to help you form a skill set that you can then use to build a career. They even have lessons to show you how to find a job. You like working from home? You want to work in a field where
how
the
to find a
median
job,
salary
touch
in the US
grass?
in 2024 was over $100,000?
Nah, you can find jobs online.
Do you like a challenge? If you're ready to take the leap, go to boot.dev and use my code Daryl Talks Games.
Yeah, coding
to get
changes through
25%
time a
off
lot.
your entire first year if you choose.
Also, chat, how's the audio? Can you hear the man?
Always a pleasure working with boot.dev. So thanks again for the sponsor. Now back to the show. Cast your mind back to when you were in the 5th grade. What school was like, what games you enjoyed, what friends you had. And once you situate yourself in that memory, I want you to imagine that one day in class, the teacher pulls you aside and gives you a few small puzzles. They aren't super hard. You are pleasantly surprised at how well you've done. And the teacher then says to you, "Great job, you must be really smart." How does it make you feel to hear that? Maybe back in school you were actually told something exactly like this. Perhaps you were placed in the smart kid classes and labeled gifted and talented. Maybe you really liked
Thank you for the
that
follow.
phrase. Hell, maybe you heard it all the way through college, but let me revise our story ever so slightly. Let's rewind. You do the puzzle, you succeed, you feel good, and then the teacher says to you, "Great job, you must have worked really hard." How does this one make you feel? It's entirely possible that they sound the same to you. You kicked ass in the discussion. But it's shocking just how staggering of a difference these two forms of praise actually make. This is Dr. Carol Dweck.
I'm always extremely careful with that as a teacher, by the way. Depending, and not even as a teacher, not only as a teacher, but in real conversations with real people. If I'm gonna like give them a compliment, or if I'm gonna talk about like a discussion of like if something really bad happened, I have been programmed my brain since I did my bachelor's degree in education that I'm like, I need to state this. I need to say the following statement in a correct way because this could actually have like heavy consequences on the person's morale, especially since I am someone who a lot of people look forward to. Sometimes I have no chill because some people deserve it, and then sometimes I just like, okay, now I need to be very cautious about the following words, or I just follow it up with whatever. So don't worry, Chad. I'll slander you all, and then I say at the end, JK, that will fix it all.
And over the course of her career, she has done a ton of research on people's personal
Thank you, Lucas. This is W video, by the way.
Abilities. And our little thought experiment is a study that she ran in several different forms.
Big ego by accident? Ooh.
In essence, elementary schoolers will be split into groups and do a series of easy, nonverbal puzzles. One group was praised for their intelligence.
Wow, you did really well. You must be really smart at this.
Another was praised for their effort.
Wow, you did really well. You must have tried really hard at these.
And of course, the control group wasn't praised at all. Sorry, Timmy. In her original study,
Timmy,
only one sentence of feedback was
Timmy wasn't
because,
praised.
as Dr. Dweck explains,
Justice for
he had
Timmy.
a hunch that one line might be enough to see an effect, which is an absolute mic drop because that's exactly what happened. When the students were then offered either a harder puzzle or another puzzle of a similar difficulty, the majority of the students praised for effort took the harder puzzle. Those praised for their smarts actually took the easier. The smart kids did not want the business, but the ones told that they worked hard were very Goku-ishly ready to be pummeled for the love of the game. They invited the challenge with open arms. So what exactly is happening here? Well, these forms of feedback to our young, malleable minds immediately begin to mold our self-belief and subsequently our motive to try. By telling students, hey, good job, you must be smart, it immediately places the reason for their success on something about them that they have no control over. It'd be like
I can tell you for sure, I was very aware, as a teacher, I used to be extremely aware of this, and also as a student, because I don't want to overpraise myself or glaze myself as when I was very young, but I knew exactly how some adults were thinking. Like, I needed to take the easy route for a lot of things, and not that I wanted to feed my ego, I just wanted to get the hell out of the place so I could start playing my Game Boy. The sooner I could do the task, the more I have more time with my Game Boy. So that's why I always picked like the easy route. It's like, hey, give me time. I need to be a neat. I need to get out of here so that I can play with my Game Boy.
like telling your niece that she bowled a strike because she has a lot of aura.
Yeah, work smarter, not harder.
On the other hand, by telling students that their hard work was what paid off, that gives them something actionable to use moving forward, and it makes difficult tasks less of a threat to their identity and more of a chance to grow. Like Dr. Dweck says, when we praise children for their intelligence, we tell them that this is the name of the game. Look smart, don't risk making mistakes. In the long term, what this simple distinction in verbiage manifests as is two distinct, very well researched and defined motivations. A mastery motivation.
Hold on. I saw Pokemon cards. I know that's a Pokemon commercial, but I need to grade those cards, chat. First edition Kingler, nice. Not carefully. No! They made the mistake of putting the card next to the loop. Remember, chat, never put your cards next to the loop. When that binder is gonna close, it's going to damage the card. Get that Blastoise out of there and put it in a penny sleeve and a hard sleeve at the same time. That card is busted.
Searched and defined motivations. A mastery motivation, the desire to do well at something for the sake of learning it and finding competence
I'm a Pokemon snob.
And a performance motivation, the desire to excel because from a social standpoint, it makes one appear competent. And at face value,
saying they're 7. I don't care. I was also 7 and I took care of my cards. Sometimes.
Which one you tend to have based on your upbringing.
I'm good, Robbie.
How it affects your play style when you game. If you relate to the players from the start of the video that experiment and intimately learn the mechanics of the game, you might enjoy doing things that way because, like the effort kids, the ever-growing challenge and the allure of mastery is most satisfying to you. On the other hand, if you're like me and were placed in the gifted and talented classes growing up, you may not really play games specifically for the difficulty. I'm here to enjoy the story. I'm here for the vibes, the atmosphere, the music, the chance to do something funny or laugh with a friend.
Yo, hold on. I saw a penis on this educational video. I'm way too smart for this video. Also, that's Barraga Cap. You saw that.
I'm here for the vibes.
I'm killing the top.
The music.
Yeah, I'm here for the vibes of the games. I love that, but then suddenly. Chat, what is this? It's like Luigi dicking the ground. Among Us sus, Donkey Kong. Questionable optics.
Something funny or laugh with a friend.
Anonymous.
Or cry until I'm numb. You enjoyed the cabaret side quest in Yakuza 0 because it required a deeper understanding of what your girls are good at and what your guests want to see. I enjoyed it because the makeover menu music.
There was K-Song in this game? Yo, K-Song is in this game.
We are not the same. I'm much more of a performer.
Yo, Gravity. Okay.
I want something to take me for
Gravity
a
Rush
ride,
mention.
not something to study and find expertise in. So if you happen to participate in that poll, more than likely your goal orientation played a part in your answer. If you tend to deep dive into games and play them for every penny they're worth, then some, I'd be willing to bet you play with a mastery motivation in mind. If you're like me and typically just run the base game and move on, you are likely playing with more of a performance motivation in mind. And before we go too much further, I want to make it as clear as I possibly can that despite how Dr. Dweck's research frames it, in the long term, neither motivation is inherently better than the other. It does seem that mastery is a healthier perspective for deeply learning something, and in many cases it is. But that ability to truly lock in and learn about something at an incredibly
Lock
high
the fuck
level
in. Lock
often
in.
comes at a cost.
Uh-oh.
Have you ever met someone who kind of only plays FromSoft titles or only plays games on
Yes.
their hardest difficulty? They probably justify this with phrases like, playing something easy just doesn't do it for me anymore, or I don't know, I just can't enjoy this unless I hate myself along the way.
That's so true. That is so true. Honestly, look. There's people who played only one kind of game, who are like just fans of that genre. Like, hey, I only play sport games. I only play the Call of Duty games. Screw all this Mario, Smash Bros, and colorful Street Fighter or Japanese anime games. I don't like that. Give me the nitty gritty sports games and Call of Duty. That's perfectly fine if they only like that. And then there's the other kind of sadistic gamer who only prefer to play like games like FromSoft, like Dark Souls or whatever, and all those kind of games like that, because they enjoy like the thrill that already comes with the preemptive anticipation from that. I probably should let the man talk, and then I think he's going to explain that. However, I think that those kind of gamers, there's not a problem with that. A bit sadistic nature on it, but you know what? That's fine. I have a friend that does that and rages really bad because he can't pass the difficulty he gave himself. Sometimes you just want to prove yourself. I don't remember, but I know that I played games where I only accepted like the difficult method. One example, it's like Fire Emblem. I don't like Fire. If you tell me playing Fire Emblem in casual mode, I'm going to spit on your face. I am just dead ass going to like this. That's like the most elite I've ever gotten. Because the first few Fire Emblems, I was adapted. I was thrown into the dark depths of playing Fire Emblem on classic mode. And then now, with the new games, they have like a casual mode and classic mode. I'm like, oh, if I play casual, I can't live with myself. I can't. I don't have to play like lunatic. No, don't get me wrong, Pen. I know you love Fire Emblem a lot, but I don't have to. I don't have to play lunatic. Nah, that's absurd. Like that. See, lunatic, I think it's a good challenge, but it relies way too much on RNG. Like way too much. And then goes like the normal mode. Like it's how it was meant to be played. Yeah, see, this is fine because I feel like that's the way. Hey, SAIN, play Fire Emblem in easy mode. I spit on my mic. Holy shit. Lunatic Plus is just pure evil. It's evil as hell. You can miss. You can get destroyed with like a very, very small percentage. It's ridiculous. Also, thank you for the gifted sub. Thank you for the gifted sub to Rabbi Retro.
Folks are probably mastery oriented. They get the most thrill out of a genuine challenge. But it might cost them a ton of games that they'd never consider playing. Believe it or not, this happens in school too, which is where most of this research was done. This 2019 paper found that mastery-oriented university students perform well on exams only when the subject matter was interesting to them. They excelled when it was something they gave a damn about and performed poorly on other topics. Performance-oriented students, with their anxiety and pressure to be the good students they think they are, did very well across all topics as long as the class demands were clear.
Yeah, it depends if you like the thing.
Leak into the comments from that poll. Some people who do put in the gargantuan sum of hours tend to either do exactly that or just bounce off of a game entirely with no in between. Some have to 100% a game before they can move on. Others stopped gaming like this because they don't have time to do so anymore. Masters are actively looking for something to get hopelessly swept up in for a long time, even if it means they miss a ton of other stuff. But if you fall in that slight majority with me, oh man, you may not be pulling off stunts like this or putting in hours like this, but you're likely trying way more games and rolling credits on way more games of varying genres. If the game isn't that hard, that's okay. For performers, it's more of a social experience anyways. We aren't playing Monster Hunter Wiki because we're in love with the mechanics. We're playing because it's fun to swing a hammer and we just want to be part of the session.
Of
And because
course.
we want that play. We don't achieve the hunt because it gives us a chance to experience the game's strategies and interactions at their fullest. We look up a guide for that. We just want the platinum so that we can flex it. We aren't playing that fighting game because we like the nitty-gritty details of the meta. We're playing it because it feels good to socially compare when we win. Performers, because they are so socially driven instead of process driven, tend not to need an overwhelming inherent interest in a topic to excel in it like masters do. If everyone is playing a particular game, if all of their friends are playing it, fear of missing out will set in stronger for the performer and drive interest through that avenue, especially if it is a particular type of performer. Some psychologists make the distinction that there are two types of performance motivation: appearance-based and competitive-based. Appearance-based goals tend to lead to a host
FOMO,
of
baby.
maladaptive
FOMO's huge.
outcomes, such as self-handicapping and help avoidance. This is what Dr. Dweck typically observed in students who were told they were smart. This suddenly gave them a fragile self-image that they sought to protect instead of being engaged with the material itself. And it cost them. Later in that original study, they had both groups do an extremely difficult puzzle. Where the mastery kids typically didn't mind failing and had fun with it, the performance kids broke down, assuming that their failure was evidence that they weren't really smart at all.
You seem to have more trouble with this one, and I want to know why you think that was.
Probably because I'm not good at these problems.
Appearance-based performers tend to go that route. Competitive-based performers,
I'm good.
however,
I'm just haven't leveled up
generally
yet.
tend to achieve more and have much more adaptive outcomes, such as self-efficacy and self-regulation. What this means is that even if you run completely on ego, that ego is one hell of a motivator.
I think the other day I said the following thing. Somebody's talking about the FOMO is gotcha. FOMO is gotcha. FOMO is huge. Little Timmy is feeling FOMO. It's like, I'm not smart enough for this. I need to be smart like the other kids. Teacher, let me study so that I can master this. You know, I had that issue one time. I had a student who was just like Vegeta here in this picture. Hear me out. Because there was like a one time where they failed on a test and they're like, let me retake it. Let me retake it. Let me fight you, teacher. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. You failed the test. You know, there's no retake, no double texting. And I'm like, you know what? Let me talk to the educational system of this place to see if I am allowed to give you the test again, because the student was like determined, like, you know, I know this. I just have problems with my family. Teacher, give me a chance. Give me the test again. I will master this. It's like, yo. But that's actually a good motivation, honestly. There's some students that will thrive like that, and they will. You know what? Fuck it. That's actually like, there can be a positive side as well. It's unfortunate not everybody can go through all the things. And speaking of not going through all the things, I paused in here because I wanted to talk about more in depth about FOMO and how I, as a streamer, feel the FOMO. Holy shit, do I feel the FOMO every time. Every time that I look on Twitter, or every time that I look on Twitch, it's like, oh, everyone's playing the trendy game of the week, and I'm like, holy shit, could I get into it? And then I have the game and I don't play the damn game because I have a bajillion things, other plans that I committed to, and it's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't get to it. Is it late now? Maybe it's late, maybe it's not. If I do it, if I perform at it, I might not get popular because it's no longer, you know, the expiration time has already passed. So imagine as a non-streamer, you also go through that as a non-streamer, because when I was like not a content creator at all, I used to see people play things that I wanted to be part of as well. Or I used to see people go into like tournaments, and I'm like, yo, I missed that. Let me go back there. I'm busy working as an adult. I would like to go there too. Where all the games just launching, you know, there's way too much. This is why earlier I said, like, do kids even have time these days to do, you know, to play games? There's like so much available right now. I envy, and I don't envy like the current generation. Like the youngest one right now, what is it? Generation Beta? Awful name, by the way. At least the previous one, Alpha, was like, the Alpha was okay, but Beta, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for you, Generation Beta. It's insane how much you're gonna suffer from like so much to play. I've seen people of a younger generation going like, yo, I want to get into retro games. And it's like, good luck. and please enjoy it to your fullest capacity. And I hope, and this is the biggest compliment that I can give to anybody. I tell them, I hope that you enjoyed this game the same way that I enjoyed it when it was new. Because I've seen people being like, oh yeah, I want to get into Final Fantasy 3 or Final Fantasy 6, as they call it in the US. I'm like, oh yeah. I hope, yeah, I tell them that because back in the day I had like a different perspective on things. There wasn't, the internet wasn't around, trending games weren't around, the technology, it was what we had. So it's a little bit difficult to enjoy things and with the modern eye and the modern perspective in your brain. So that I'm talking about can also heavily affect the FOMO. Imagine people who just, I'm bored and I'm already have a fear of missing out. You were born too late to enjoy this. But fortunately, trust me, I don't think I was born too late to enjoy Pong. That shit can stay behind.
Every Goku needs a Vegeta, and this is exactly what you get if you're a performer who loves competition. You may not be in love with the mechanics or the strategy of Marvel Rivals, but if you care about winning enough, you will make room for them. You may not be drawn to FromSoft games or brutal platformers, but if your buddy beat one and won't stop talking about it, you might suddenly have something to prove. Meanwhile, your buddy couldn't care less what people think because he's mastery motivated. He plays Rivals because the strategy and technique tickles his brain. He plays because the depth of Elden Ring's build combinations are like brown
we are built different, Timmy.
To his prefrontal cortex. He might enjoy fighting games because
this is me gatekeeping the people in the play yard. You're playing Kingdom Hearts because you like Riku and Sora. I'm playing Kingdom Hearts because I want to defeat Sephiroth in level 20. We are not the same.
Frame data. Actually, I'm not convinced anyone likes fighting games, but you see my point. All right, let's do a little mental check-in. I know almost all of you right now are watching this and have already decided that you are most certainly either a master or a performer. You've related to something I said about your upbringing or how you play or how you pick games. I hope that has provided some clarity about yourself, but before you go too far with that, it is critical that I speak to a mysterious third party that is watching. The people who were screaming, I think I'm both, man. What the fuck is going on? Am I gonna die? A 2015 study on 270 athletes found that when in a competition, athletes do their best work if they have both a high level of task goal orientation and ego goal orientation. To translate that, task is mastery, ego is performance. Basically, as long as they are not low in both forms, they are experiencing a positive mental state when they play. I bring this study up simply to say you can have both, and in fact you probably do. If masters compare themselves to their past selves and performers compare themselves to others, it stands to reason that you can do both of these things simultaneously, and according to this study, many athletes do. And in fact, if you do, you're more likely to experience that flow state that people talk about so much, where you're super engaged with an ever-growing challenge, which is exactly what makes video games such a magical time.
Yeah, I want to talk here. I want to be real. So this man is talking that a person can definitely be both. While some people lock the fuck in to be a master, and some others like just want to be a performer. You can have both, depending on your taste. I want to know if people here have ever experienced like absolute gaming nirvana whenever they want to lock into something, and you've done something that you never thought you were capable of. Let's talk about the experience. Like how the other day I was like playing Undertale. I finished like the Sans fight. Yeah, I was just doing it for the performers, for the fun time of it. I had the one run where I won. I actually won against Sans with items in my inventory. I was so locked in to get to the end of that one. I was like, whoosh, I could feel the flames in my body go like, yeah, this is gonna be the one. Like the adrenaline in my body made me lock the hell in. And then at the end of that, I completely crashed like Goku style. I almost died in my room, leaving my PC awake. To be a master, Pokemon master, that makes sense. Now that checks out.
So, for the cascade of people who commented on the poll saying it depends or that they do a little bit of both, of course you do. These
Yeah.
motivations are not mutually exclusive.
Armor
The
core, hell
best
yeah.
way to think about it is you likely have a mastery stat and a performance stat. They might both be high, they might both be low, they might be a mix of values, they may vary depending on the game or activity or mood, but they do make a difference in your decision making. Just like patience or empathy or introversion, they're personality traits that are a factor in
Artists.
your life and not a hard law.
This topic, by the way, it's not only for gaming. This topic also applies heavily for artists. There are artists out there who are just perfectionists of their craft, and they will not leave a piece of art alone until they feel it is perfected. And there's artists out there who are just out there for the casual way. They have no problem with the decision-making skill of omitting certain details, or or just like taking, certain routes, whether it's like making it as nice as possible, or just giving it for you're finishing it for the craft of finishing it. Artists apply heavily on this topic too, by the way. Me drawing Ratalos for a week. Holy smokes, you did amazing. You were like this in the first time. I fought Hornet in Hollow Knight. I kept failing so many times. I got frustrated. I had just to walk away for dinner. I came back home, immediately beat her after the first try. Oh, I had that moment too. That happened to me in Star Ocean, the second story, with like the little fairy that's like a secret boss. Insane.
That you're going to follow. But understanding these motivations, I think, is important for all of us, because knowing that you tend to be a master may make you feel better about spending 200 hours on Monster Hunter and ignoring your backlog. This is just what you're built to do. Knowing you're a performer may make you not worry so much about leaving side quests and secret bosses undone.
Had enough of this, Josh.
If the challenge didn't entice you, listen to that feeling. You're trying to be honest with yourself. That's okay. Oh, and by the way, please don't bear resentment toward the people who taught you growing up for making you one way or the other. I know we made a big to-do about that talent versus effort praise study, but believe it or not, a study spanning several countries involving twins found that learning motivation is actually around 40% genetic. So regardless of how you were rewarded as a child,
Really? Hold on, let me hear that statement again, because this is actually crucial and important. 40% genetic. Let's see. Genetic factors. I'm going to read this entire statement. Why children differ in motivation to learn insight from over 13,000 twins from countries. So they did this test on twins. Hold on, roll back the phone, because this may be actually important. Oh, at least to me, as a previous teacher. Little is known about why people differ in their levels of academic motivation. The study to explore the etiology of individual differences in enjoyment and self-perceived ability for several school subjects in nearly 13,000 twins, ages 9 to 16, from 6 countries. The results show that striking consistencies across ages, schools, and subjects and cultures. Contrary to common belief, enjoyment of learning and children's perception of their competence were no less heritable than cognitive ability. Genetic factors explain approximately 40% of the variance of all observed twins. Similarities in academic motivation. Share environmental factors such as home or classroom did not contribute to the twins' similarities in academic motivation. Environmental influences stem entirely from individual specific experiences. This is a mouthful of words, but this is huge, by the way, because you can have you can be, this is, remember the one topic that people say, like, oh yeah, you are born with scales. So you're born with scales. It's not entirely 100% false. You can be, of course, if you have like something in your genetics that can make it difficult for you to learn, of course it's going to affect your cognitive side to be able to learn certain skills. But you're not born with the skills to like perform. However, so there are genetic factors that will probably enhance your ability to to learn better. And apparently They tested this on twins. I don't know if this is like entirely factually true. There must be like there must be it's always case by case, of course, but there has to be like there has to be a factor that can help you like learn. This is very intriguing because there are people who are just like born with the ability to just and higher inherit all this knowledge really fast, and it's interesting. That's a good sense.
40% genetic. So regardless of how you were rewarded as a child, you were already predisposed to how you were going to be. Don't be mad at your teachers. Be mad at your parents. And let's not forget that
yeah, true.
Goal orientation is just a factor in your gaming habits. Growing up, the teacher might have been less of an influence than your family's financial situation. The neighbor kid might have had 3 consoles and a library of juicy goodness to pick from, but if all you had was a copy of Paper Mario, a Mad Catz, and a Dream, you were going to play every inch of that game because it's all you had. You discovered the Danger Mario build, actually. Think that could explain why you play the same shit 7 times over these days? Maybe your family could only afford to rent games from Blockbuster and it forced you to try a ton of different stuff, and that habit stuck with you. Maybe that's why you never finish anything. Maybe you're more of a performer and that led you to achievement hunting, which made you discover how cool a mechanic is in a game, which then led you to want to play other games on a deeper, more technical level. Did you just become a master? All of this to say, obviously we are told a great many things growing up, and it's impossible to, in hindsight, perfectly trace the reverberations of what that symphony of praise and discipline and reinforcement actually did to us, let alone measure how that interacted with all of the habits we've cultivated since then. But the point of this video was not to label you one of 2 cute clickbaity buzzwords, but instead to help you understand more about yourself and those around you. That's all I ever really tried to do here. I hope today I succeeded. Regardless of the why you tick the way you do or the how you arrived here, just remember that it doesn't define you. It is a piece of you that you should seek to make peace with.
Good video, honestly. Holy shit.
There you.
So many cool little facts. So many little good factors about this one, honestly. I like this comment. Talent is slightly lit. It's up to you to keep going as you go. Yeah. There's a small advantage to how you're born, of course. You know how this person said at the end, there's going to be circumstances that will help you, but that will lead you to a better performers or a better at mastery at your gaming skills. But in general, it really just depends, and it's up to you to keep it going. But yeah, amazing video, Lucas. Honestly, amazing. Thank you for the recommendation for this video. Good one.